Welcome back, subscribers, to another Sunday speed paint. This week, I'm doing fan art. I took my Master's Touch gouache paint sets and my iPad Pro and decided to pick 6 random Pokemon. I got Shelder, Chinchou, Weavile, Spearow, Amora, and a new one to me, Glacier. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I wanted this illustration to be something fun. So to start off with, I wanted to share with you guys my opinion on stylization while doing a semi-stylized illustration of Pokemon. My gouache painting, the first one that I made, I wanted this to be as for fun, for myself, and for practice as possible. So what I ended up doing after laying down the basic white paint on this wooden canvas was to take the 6 Pokemon and just kind of throw them on the canvas where I wanted to. For some reason, I decided to make 2 Shelders and 2 Chinchous, but that was okay, because this was for fun. By all means, with the way that I sort of sized them was not accurate at all to their Pokemon heights, but that was another thing that I just kind of had fun with. The Glacier looks absolutely nothing like the original source, and most of the Pokemon's sizes are very drastically different. Spearow looks like the size of a legendary Pokemon, but it was honestly a lot of fun just getting to experiment with the way that I did the watercolor-ish like layering of the gouache. I say watercoloring because when you add water to gouache, it basically becomes like a watercolor texture, so you can lay it down like you would both acrylic, but then adding water turns it kind of liquidy like watercolor. So it was a mixture of the both of them so that I could layer it and still spread it out across the page in a thin, opaque kind of look. With the stylization choice, I had one thing that came to my mind when making this, was why is it that in all of my previous speed paints of any fan art, they look so close to the original source material? And I wanted to share with you guys that, because I don't actually know if anybody has talked about this on YouTube, because whenever I see someone making fan artwork, they're like, I draw rubber hose, I draw hyper-realistic, I draw somewhere in the middle. I've never seen really any illustrations that look like mine, because when I make fan artwork, I stay so close to the source material, it's a little scary. There's art challenges where if you are like, oh, draw your character in these 20 different or 10 different art styles, draw in The Simpsons, draw in Pokemon, and those are fun challenges, but when you try and do it almost the other way around of like, I'm gonna draw fan artwork of My Hero Academia and Pokemon, you think, oh, well, how are they gonna draw it? Are they someone who does hyper-realistic? Like, I've seen some fun Pokemon where they draw the skeletal structures, they draw them creepy, or they draw them in a rubber hose Disney style. It's all different stylizations, but they're always different from the Pokemon style that people are familiar with. I, for whatever reason, when I make my illustrations, have kept them as close to the original source material out of a slight fear and a bad habit. I love to draw fan artwork of these shows and video games, but when I was growing up, with the way that I learned in high school and the way that I had learned myself by teaching myself, was if I wanted to draw, let's say, back in high school, Lion King, Sonic, or Pokemon, I traced a lot of them in my old middle and high school first practice sessions, because that was honestly a way for me to practice how my hand movements were to draw those characters. But when I stopped tracing and I was trying to reference an image, that stayed with me from where I learned in high school when we would make an illustration, whether that was a Van Gogh repainting or taking a picture from a park and then drawing that like a still life on paper. I'd basically just be making it as close to the original source material as possible with the shading and highlights and the way that I would make it, but the only difference was I would either be using colored pencils, paints, or markers. But when I use different tools, one of the things that I thought about was, why does my digital artwork when I make my original characters look so much different to when I make fan art in quotation marks that ends up becoming a copy? Well, that's because I'm more used to freestyling my own character, because I have the wishes and whims and fantasy ideas in my head that I can transition on paper because that doesn't exist anywhere else. There is no source material for my character except for in my head. So when I wanted to make fan artwork of something, what I saw in my head, it was almost like I had a block. It was almost like there was an art block for that, where I was like, I'm just gonna recreate it from the show. And I struggle with this still so much, even with creating this piece for fun. As weird as Glacier looks in my watercolor rendition, I like it because it's silly and it's how I apparently saw him in my head. But I also wanted to be able to make something that was still like, hey, this is Pokemon, but it's Vixie or Stencil Fox's art style. So what I tried to do for the digital version versus the traditional was I used a few extra references. I looked up how rocks and trees looked, except I didn't make it look like that. I combined them together by using multiple references, so I didn't have the chance to make it look exactly like something. The trees do not look like any trees whatsoever. They don't look like Pokemon trees from the show, and they don't look like realistic trees. I tried to do this with the Pokemon themselves as well, by making Spearow smaller, by making Glacier look like a big, buff racing horse, and I kept the other Pokemon just kinda how they were, but I changed the sizes of them just a little bit. I wanted to change the poses of the Pokemon so that they didn't look like they were straight A posing or straight out of the Pokedex. And I feel like this is something that I needed to do for myself, and I thought this was something that you guys would enjoy and something that I don't see a lot of on YouTube, because I feel like a lot of people have very bold styles and can make fan artwork, and this is something that I want to make happen. I've made strides in stylizing my original characters, but I've yet to do so with fan art, and I want to start making fan art for series and not be afraid. If you guys would like to join me, please put your paws to that subscribe button for weekly content, and if you guys want to share your thoughts about these illustrations, let me know in the comments down below. What did you like about these illustrations? Which was your favorite, or did you like them both? And if you guys want to support the channel, I have a link tree in my bio and description. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. Stay possum, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!